There are schools that educate, and then there are schools that shape a generation. For thousands of Pakistanis, Lahore Grammar School, LGS, isn't just an institution. It's a brand, a social class marker, a cultural ecosystem, a launching pad. In urban Pakistan, especially Lahore, saying you went to LGS carries meaning. It signals a certain upbringing, a certain fluency in English, a certain exposure to debate, theater, model UNs, Olympiads, and foreign university pathways. But LGS didn't begin as a symbol of elite urban Pakistan. It began as something far smaller, and its rise tells us a lot about how private education reshaped this country. LGS was founded in 1979 by Miss Shahnaz Wazir Ali in Lahore. At the time, Pakistan's education system was sharply divided. On one side were government schools, underfunded, overcrowded, uneven in quality. On the other were legacy institutions like Aitchison and convent schools, which catered to specific elite circles. LGS entered as something different, a private school that promised quality, discipline, English medium instruction, and academic rigor, without the colonial exclusivity of older institutions. It grew during a period of enormous transformation in Pakistan. The late 1970s and 1980s were marked by political upheaval, Islamization policies, and economic shifts. Public education quality declined in many urban centers. Middle-class families began searching for alternatives. LGS positioned itself as that alternative. It wasn't just selling education, it was selling aspiration. One of LGS's most strategic decisions was aligning itself with the Cambridge O-level and A-level system. This was critical, because Cambridge wasn't just an examination board, it was a passport. O-levels and A-levels meant access to foreign universities. It meant recognition in the UK, US, Canada, and Australia. It meant global mobility. And as Pakistan's urban middle and upper middle classes grew more outward-looking, this mattered deeply. LGS expanded. Branches multiplied across Lahore, Gulberg, Johor Town, Defence, Model Town. Eventually, the LGS system became decentralized, with multiple independently run campuses operating under the broader brand. And that brand became powerful. By the 1990s and 2000s, LGS wasn't just competing with public schools. It was competing with Beaconhouse, Roots, and other private giants. Private education was no longer a niche. It was an industry. If Aitchison represents inherited elite power, LGS represents the making of a new elite. Bankers' children, corporate executives' children, media professionals, bureaucrats, overseas Pakistanis returning home. LGS became the school of Pakistan's rising professional class. And with that came a cultural shift. LGS students weren't just drilled academically. They were trained in debate, drama, student councils, public speaking, Olympiads, entrepreneurial competitions. They were taught confidence. English fluency became second nature. Exposure to Western literature, global politics, and international admissions counseling became normalized. Over time, LGS graduates entered top universities worldwide. Ivy League schools, LSE, UCL, Toronto, Melbourne, and many returned to Pakistan occupying leadership positions in startups, media, policy, and business. The school didn't just teach curriculum, it manufactured a mindset. But LGS is not a single centralized empire like Beaconhouse. It is fragmented. Different campuses operate independently, with varying reputations. Some are considered elite, others more commercial. This fragmentation has created both flexibility and controversy. Some branches are praised for academic excellence. Others are criticized for inconsistent quality. Yet the brand persists, because in Pakistan, perception is power, and LGS remains shorthand for privilege-adjacent education. To understand LGS is to understand the economics of private education in Pakistan. Tuition fees at top private schools can rival university tuition in some countries. Add extracurriculars, exam fees, foreign application counseling, and the cost becomes staggering for most families. This creates a quiet segregation. On one side, students in English medium private systems preparing for global careers. On the other, millions in public schools struggling with basic infrastructure. LGS didn't create this divide, but it thrives within it. Private schooling became a substitute for state failure, and over time, that substitute hardened into a parallel system. Pakistan now has not one education system, but multiple, operating side by side. And LGS sits at the top tier of one of them. No institution of this scale escapes scrutiny. Over the years, various LGS campuses have faced criticism, from fee hikes to disciplinary policies to internal management disputes. There have been social media debates around elitism, student culture, and the pressure cooker environment of high-performing private schools. Some critics argue that LGS, like other elite schools, produces graduates disconnected from the socio-economic realities of the country. Others argue the opposite, that it produces globally competitive Pakistanis in a country that desperately needs them. Both arguments hold weight, because LGS reflects Pakistan's contradictions. It is both opportunity and exclusion, empowerment and stratification. Today, LGS alumni are everywhere, in tech startups, media houses, law firms, consulting firms, NGOs, political campaigns. It has become part of the urban power pipeline, not through colonial heritage like Aitchison, but through network density. Your classmates become your future collaborators, investors, and co-founders. The school becomes a lifelong ecosystem. And that ecosystem matters in a country where networks often determine outcomes. So what does LGS actually represent? It represents the privatization of aspiration. It represents the shift from inherited feudal elite to professional urban elite. It represents a generation raised to think globally, sometimes at the cost of feeling locally grounded. It is not simply a school. It is a symbol of where Pakistan's middle and upper middle classes chose to place their faith, not in the state, but in private institutions. And that choice reshaped the country. If Aitchison tells the story of colonial continuity, LGS tells the story of post-colonial reinvention. It shows how power adapts, how privilege modernizes, how English medium education became the new currency of influence, and how in Pakistan, the classroom is never just a classroom. It is a pipeline to opportunity, to status, to power. And LGS sits firmly inside that pipeline.